You are listening to Single Smart Female. This is Jen, letting it all hang out for your love life, examining your dating experiences, and answering your hot topic dating questions. Just you and me. No topic is off limits and no filters involved. I am here to help you do dating on your terms. If you have a question that you would like me to answer or would like to immediately upgrade your love life with our collection of classes and exclusive merchandise, meet me over now at singlesmartfemale.com. Hey, Single Smart Female. Jen here, romantic fairy godmama to smart, successful single women all around the world, just like you. I am excited because today is Friday and we're doing Q&A. So we are going to get started here quickly as Miss Canadian Cutie writes. By the way, she's 25 and apparently located in Canada. She writes, "Hi Jen, about 4 months ago, I was out with my girlfriends at a bar downtown. I met this very attractive man who I spent most of the night with. We danced, had drinks, and ended the night by going back to his place and sleeping together. I definitely thought that this was going to be a one-night stand. A few days later, I found myself messaging him because we'd exchanged numbers that night. He ended up coming over and we slept together again. This eventually became a weekly thing because I was intrigued by the idea of having a friend with benefits. At the time, I had no desire to be in a romantic relationship. I am a professional businesswoman with an amazing family and friends, and I don't feel I have to fill a void when it comes to this part of my life. I was single and ready to build up my own entourage, as you would say. When he and I were together, we became super close friends. We wouldn't only sleep together, but we'd talk about each other and our lives. A deep connection grew between us that I kept hidden. He showed a lot of interest in me by always calling me beautiful, calling me on the phone, and telling me how much he liked me. I always brushed it off and continued to make a point that I didn't want a boyfriend. He always stated that he didn't want a girlfriend because he was still in university finishing his degree. We talk every single day, even if it's a small conversation. I am now starting to realize that I have feelings for him. I feel like he is realizing that I have deeper feelings for him because he's starting to play hard to get. He makes stupid sexual comments about other women in front of me when we go out. He talks about other women that he wants to have sex with, and yet he has only slept with one person since he's been sleeping with me. We don't see each other as much, and I'm usually the one making plans. We went to a restaurant one night for supper and drinks, and he acted like a complete asshole for most of the night. For example, he commented on other women's bodies sexually and made it clear he didn't want to buy me dinner, even though I had already stated to him I didn't want him to pay for me because we were going as friends. What the hell? While we were there, I ran into a couple of male friends that I'd met in university and talked to them for a few minutes. When I came back to our table, he acted completely jealous and insisted I tell him who those guys were. He then acted like he was my boyfriend for the rest of the night by touching my legs and trying to kiss me in public. This really pissed me off, but for some reason made me like him even more. Since then, we've seen each other and I keep sleeping with him. He's stated many times that he wants to be just friends and he doesn't want a relationship anytime soon. I've been on other dates but never seemed to have as good of a time as I have with him. Also, the sex with him is the best I've ever had. I don't want to stop seeing him or sleeping with him because I know I would miss it. My dilemma is that my strong feelings towards him make it harder to have feelings for other men. Part of me wants to keep him around until I find someone better, but part of me also wants to pursue only him even though I don't think he wants me like that. What do you think I should do?" She also wants us to know here at Single Smart Female that in her last relationship, she settled on a man based off of his career and how well he could take care of me, but she didn't have any strong feelings or sexual desire for him. Okay, Miss Canadian Cutie, quite a conundrum we've got here, but we can do this. So today, this is going to be, I'm just going to be honest with you, a lot of tough love. And there are few men that I would tell you to take out of your entourage. But a man that is rude to you, especially on a consistent basis, and after you have made it clear to him that certain behaviors make him uncomfortable, and he continues to do them, he doesn't deserve to be in your entourage. I don't care how damn good the sex is. You are teaching him that it is okay to be this way. Why? Because you're still spending time with them. You're not doing yourself any favors, and you're certainly not doing other women favors. Ladies, this is really important, and this isn't just for Miss Canadian Cutie. If we don't stop paying attention to the men who treat us poorly, they will never stop, because they know they want our attention's the most powerful component in this universe to a man. He may not ever admit that to you, but they are very wired to desire our attention in a certain way. So if you keep paying attention to him in spite of these behaviors, the only thing you are ever teaching men is that it is okay to treat women like that. And I know that's a lot of tough love, and I get that the sex might be hot. It's not worth it. You can get hot sex other places if you open yourself up to the possibilities. And you, again, can always go to my podcast about chemistry, my podcast episode, about chemistry. And you can start there and redesign this entire interaction. Now, I will concede, Miss Canadian Cutie, even though you've got your shit together, you've got amazing friends, family, and you don't have a void to fill in your life, I will concede that you are still very young. So this is not an uncommon phenomenon in women. Well, it happens in women at all ages, but it happens a lot in our 20s, where we start hyper-focusing on a man that the chemistry is just so amazing that it doesn't matter how they treat us, because we don't want to release that. Now, why is that exactly? Well, my theory on it is that in society, as women, as we are growing more and more powerful in the workplace and career and other pieces of our life, and we have much more of a voice, we're neglecting some of our feminine nature. And feminine nature, it has a very broad definition. So it's not something I'm necessarily going to be able to go into right here. It is really important things that I address more in programs that I teach. But let's just, for sake of argument right now, just accept the fact that we're trying to compete in a man's world, and we're not touching very feminine pieces of ourselves. Now, I'm not saying, make this also very clear, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be rising up and taking on all the things that we're very capable of taking on. I'm not anti-feminism. Also want that to be super clear. What I am saying is that we're doing this at an expense of something very fundamental in us. We are denying these pieces of ourselves, of this femininity that we want to tap into it, because it's really, really powerful and it's calling us back to it, but we're denying it because we think we have to play on a completely masculine level in order to be powerful in all those other pieces of life that we're stepping into. And the truth is, we don't have to do it that way. You can do it that way, and it can work that way, but there's usually a sacrifice with it. So what I work with women to doing is to use both pieces. You're going to step into your masculinity sometimes if needed, but your femininity is just as powerful in a very different way. Now, with that said, why I brought all of that up is because of the fact why we women get so hooked on these types of gentlemen is because they make us feel like a woman below the belt when we have these sexual encounters with them. And that's something we're not feeling necessarily in our everyday life. So we get really, really stuck there because all of a sudden the fear comes in. Oh, I will never feel this way again. And it's just not true. So I want you to acknowledge that this very well could be happening right now, and keeping you hyper-focused on somebody who doesn't deserve your attention. Adored women start to pay attention to the men who treat them the way she wants to be treated, okay? And from there, chemistry can build. Now, with that said too, there are also pieces of this that tell me that maybe you don't feel worthy of having a great relationship. We also, when we're very young, there's still this kind of stuff in the air that's saying, people are telling us in certain ways, well, as a strong woman, you have to pretend like you don't want anything. As a strong woman, you have to pretend like in front of him, in order for him to want you, that you don't really want him. As a strong woman, it's not okay to be romantically vulnerable or vulnerable in any way because you're going to get run over. Vulnerability is beautiful, my ladies, if you do it with the appropriate boundaries. If you need help with those appropriate boundaries, go to datingboundaries.com and you can take my free class there and start to understand that a little better. But vulnerability is one of the sexiest pieces of you when it comes with good boundaries. And you'll have to define them for yourself. You'll see what I'm talking about when you go take that class. The other piece of this, along with feeling like a woman, when you start to feel like a woman, you're going to release a lot of biochemical surges that start to attach you to him. So you've got science intermingling in your feelings and making it okay for you to keep paying attention to a guy who is sometimes an asshole. If you want to reverse that, however, that's one of the reasons I put together my program, The Lovesick Cure. It's a very powerful program to help you break that down. Because honestly, and I don't say this often, and I know you've listened to me enough to know this, I don't think you should be in your mantourage. I have no tolerance these days. Now, I used to. I have no tolerance for guys who are so disrespectful. Maybe if he did one thing and you said it, and you said to him, hey, that doesn't work. That doesn't work for me. When we go out, can we just focus on us? And I acknowledge that you find other women hot. I just don't want to hear about it all the time. Fine. But if he continues it after that, he's a jackass. Free him. Get him out of your life. Because all you're doing is saying that you're not worthy of having a great relationship. And then you're falling deeper and deeper into this pit of self-sabotage that is going to just crush you eventually. Literally crush you. Okay, literally no, sorry. Emotionally crush you. That's the word I was looking for. That's the way I'm going to help you. I'm going to tell you, ladies, I'm going to keep telling you, ladies, until you all start focusing on the guys that treat you the way you want to be treated, your love lives are not going to be as great as they could be. That's the bottom line. The sex part, let's say the sex is not outstanding right at the beginning, it can definitely get there. Sex and chemistry is malleable. It can get a lot better, just like it can get a lot worse. So it's up to you to say to men, I'm not accepting this, to the world, I'm not accepting this, to the universe, to your higher power. When you say, yes, this is what I want, even though he does all this, you're saying that it is okay. And it's not. It's never going to be okay. No matter how much you rationalize it in your head with your feelings, it will never be okay. So you have the potential to be an adored woman. So it's time for you to step into that. You shouldn't be anything else. Obviously, you've got your shit together in the rest of your life. Why should you settle on this piece? It doesn't make any sense. You've created some amazing things in the rest of your life. Create something amazing there. And also, ladies, from now on, this isn't just for you, Miss Canadian Cutie, because I know a significant amount of women do this, and I mentioned it just a little bit. No more pretending all the time, because I know when you're telling these guys, I just don't want this, I just don't want that. I would rather you say to these men, I'm not sure what I want right now, but I really like the fact that you like me, okay? Because we can train men to not like us because we keep on and on with the rejection, because we expect them to we like that whole, when we reject them, that they keep telling us that anyways. So eventually they'll stop saying it. And then we get pissed that they stop saying it. It's a really vicious, crazy cycle that doesn't serve anybody. So I would like you ladies to take all of that out of the vocabulary and say things like, I'm not ready for a relationship yet, but I do appreciate and I'm flattered that you like me, and I love it when you call me beautiful. Things like that. You can totally use those phrases. You're just going to make those slight tweaks so you're appreciating a guy unless he's inappropriate. By the way, and we're going to talk about this in the second segment even more because we have another single smart female question about what happens, and this is going to be really interesting, when you agree to go on a trip with a guy and kind of all hell breaks loose. I want you to know, if you are on a date and a guy starts acting completely inappropriately and is a total asshat, get up and leave. Excuse yourself and leave. You do not owe him your company when he's being a jackass. And I am a big fan of men. I'm a huge champion of men. I think there are a lot of amazing men out there, but I don't think we women should have to stay on a date and just in case he might get mad at us or he might not like us. Bullshit. Again, just teaching guys, it's okay to treat us this way. So put your foot down, get up and leave. He doesn't deserve your company if he has decided to engage in these behaviors in front of you. Just put a stop to it. You are saying again that you're worth a lot more than that. And that's the thing I want you to keep saying. You don't have to scream it from the rooftops, but what you do, your actions are so much more powerful than anything that comes out of your mouth. So one more thought I want to add to all this, actually a story I would like to add for all of you ladies. This is something that I know personally, and I had a couple incidents with this while I was dating. And I hate to say that this kind of behavior still exists with men, but I also know we as women have the power to influence this greatly. So I'm not going to stop saying the things that we can do. And already I've told you one of the things that you can do is you can leave and you can stop paying attention to them. Okay, so back to the story. This happened while I was dating. This was a man that I had met through a mutual friend. And when we met, the chemistry I had for him was insane. Nothing happened that first time, but I couldn't stop thinking about him. And finally, I figured it out how to arrange a date with him when we started communicating via, I think it was MySpace at the time. I really don't remember, but now I'm dating myself. So with that said, we started communicating and had our first date. He lived in another state, so there was some trickiness involved in making the date happen. And I was right when we went on the date. The chemistry was it was amazing. Before we'd even touched or kissed, my body was on fire. As the date progressed, it was a great date, great conversation. Everything was going well. Eventually, we ended up kissing for the first time and some heavy makeout and petting. And we were still on the date. We had not gone to anybody's place. And he said something about going somewhere. And I said, look, I like you. And I think, you are, I'm very attracted to you, but I'm not going anywhere to have sex with you tonight. And he flipped his shit on me. Totally flipped his shit. Started saying all kinds of ugly, hurtful things. And I was stunned. This was, at that point in time, the first time anything like this had happened. But I did have one other incident of a different genre, but an incident nonetheless. But I was absolutely stunned and I just froze there. And I wasn't sure what to do because I was just in huge disbelief. Now, I will tell you, I asked him to take me home. And that's something I regret. What I should have done at that point, and what I would like all of you ladies to do when something like this happens, is go find a way home yourself, a safe way home, of course. So go call somebody, which, especially on first dates, ladies, you need to have people know where you're at. Do not go out on these dates, these first dates, if you're meeting these men on the internet. Even in my situation where it was a friend of a friend, somebody needs to know exactly where you're at. And if you're not going to I always recommend taking your own vehicle. By the way, that was probably another mistake that I made for this date, is that I let him pick me up and I thought it was all safe because of this stuff. But if you need a ride, you get a ride. And you go ahead and leave. I don't want you to do the same thing that I did. It was not smart on my part. I'm not going to beat myself up forever on it, but I am going to share it with you because I want you to do something differently. You need to bring your own ride or have somebody drop you off that is not that person until it is clear as you go on several dates with him that he would never do anything absolutely horrible to you. Okay? Or he's got the temperament to date an adored woman, which is a very special but loving temperament. Today's show is brought to you by thelovesickcure.com. Does your love life suck because you can't move on from the idea of him? Does every man you meet pale in comparison to the way he made you feel? It's okay, lady love. We 100% understand and have been there before. Whether you'd like the opportunity to get him back or to completely move on, we know this only happens when you cure your heartbreak and lovesickness. Let us help you do that today at thelovesickcure.com. Hey again, Lover Girl. Welcome back to segment 2. We have another Q&A today, and it comes from Miss Camping Queen in Florida. She is 34 and she writes, if a man pays for an all-expense vacation, is he looking to deepen the connection or is he just expecting sex? Let me explain. I was seeing this guy seriously in Florida before he left for a gig in Upper New York. He kept in contact with me while I was with my mantourage, Winky Face, and he joked around about us traveling together. Unexpectedly, he offered to bring me to Upper New York to spend a week together. He reassured me that it wouldn't be just us and that his childhood friends would be around. After a few conversations, I felt comfortable, so I committed to the trip. I was so excited. The first several days were amazing. I was treated like a total princess until he got really drunk. There was another girl on the trip who supposedly was with one of his friends, and late one night he started encouraging her to show him her tits to the group. She ended up doing this several times to various guys, and it really pissed me off at how happy he was because of it. It basically ruined the rest of my vacation, and I emotionally and physically withdrew from him. It's not that I felt cheated on, it's that I felt like he was a really trashy person for even considering acting that way. We had several conversations about how sorry he was and how upset I was, without really coming to a resolution. Then he turned into an extremely passive-aggressive jerk and put me down socially in front of his friends. Oh, and all of this behavior was from a 41-year-old male. Yeah, exactly. All in all, it was the worst vacation of my life. I felt disgusted, disrespected, and above all, trapped around trashy people. Once I returned home, he resumed texting and calling. I am disgusted by his behavior and can't seem to get past it emotionally. It has completely changed the way I perceive him. He just doesn't understand why I am upset. What does this sound like to you? I want to cut him out of my life and am looking for a sanity check. Thanks, Jen. I love the podcast. By the way, Miss Camping Queen also wants us to know that she does tend to be attracted to sexy, funny, and exciting, quote-unquote, men children. And she thinks she's done it again. Frowny face. Okay, so playing a little bit off of our first segment today. I don't blame you for having a hard time getting over this. That was really unacceptable in your situation, unless those are the kind of things you're into, because I don't want to, some women be like, hey, that sounds like fun to me. But if that's something that really turns you off, as it obviously did, and that you felt extremely disrespected, I don't blame you for feeling disrespected. You were disrespected in this regard. But there's a lot of things going on here, and it's not just about his behavior. And these are the things that I have to help you understand so that you can prevent incidents like this in the future. And the first big thing is the fact that you stayed. Okay? You, after feeling very disrespected and disgusted, stayed in a situation and allowed yourself to keep feeling worse and worse. You can't do that anymore as an adored woman. You deserve so much better than that. If a guy does something that feels extraordinarily horrible, you get up and you leave. And even if you were on a trip. So your question to me was, is he looking to deepen the connection or just expecting sex? And the truth is that I think that he was looking to spend some time together with you and have a great time. Is it just about the sex? No, the sex is a bonus. I think he had good intentions here. I don't think he came on this trip with the intention of, hey, I'm going to get really drunk and look at some other chick's boobs. I don't think that was his intention. I think that was his fuck up. With that said, I don't think it's a dismissible fuck up. There are very few people, as we talked about in segment 2, very few men that I'm like, hey, he should not be in your entourage. This guy, Miss Camping Queen, is one of him. So yes, I'm perfectly fine with you kicking his ass to the curb because he doesn't deserve your attention after something that bad. Yet, I still am going to press a little deeper on what I think we as adored women, I know what I do and what I was willing to do in other situations. This became my mantra. If I am being treated poorly, I never stay. Okay. Even if I ever feel, and this is very, very rare, and it's usually on accident, if I feel disrespected by my husband, I don't sit there and engage with him. I get up out of the room and I let him pursue the conversation on that. That's just my thing, because I don't think when somebody's being completely disrespectful that I need to give all of my energy to them at that moment. What I will do is remove myself from the situation and say, no, you're not going to treat me that way. And that's a very, very powerful way to do it. Now, with that said, I also spent a lot of time building my romantic courage. And I totally concede that a lot of you ladies do not have the romantic courage that I have, because I've spent years building it. And I don't put up with shit. Now, I read men better than many of you ladies do, because a lot of you, for good reasons, feel very jaded when it comes to men. So you misperceive a lot of the things men are doing. But this is so obvious. And if you're ever in an aggressive situation, a passive aggressive situation, being put down socially, that's huge. That's one you should walk away from. The little comments of things like comparing you to other women in a negative way, all that kind of stuff, I walk straight away from. I would never tolerate that. Now, thankfully, my husband is not like that whatsoever. But that was because I stopped paying attention to guys who did really shitty behavior. And it was huge for me. So I want you to think about building your romantic courage. That's really important. It's not about, just cutting everyone out, but there are a lot of women who come to me, and we talked about boundaries in the first segment. There are a lot of women who come to me who have very poor boundaries around men. They might have great boundaries in the rest of their life, but really poor boundaries around men. And that includes very, very successful women. I have some of the most successful women I've ever had the pleasure of knowing in my life have stupidly bad boundaries with men. I would rather, until you work with me personally, I would rather you build your boundaries up higher, meaning you have strong, closer to a wall, than very, very low boundaries. Why? Because women with very low boundaries get stepped on again and again and again. Okay? And I hate to say that, but sometimes it's survival of the fittest when it comes to love and poor boundaries. So I'd rather you have walls, because walls are easier to break down than it is to build boundaries. And I can work with that. I can do both. I'm not damn good, but I would rather work with a woman who has her boundaries set way too high, her walls set up, so I can just chip at them and bring them down, because she doesn't have to work on the foundation of that. I have too many women who are so scared they're going to scare men away by having good boundaries and, feeling really enjoying themselves and feeling they're so caught up in what men think and what men are going to do, because we still have that little seed of, holy shit, the man's the prize. If I don't have a man in my life, then I'm basically worthless. For centuries, women didn't have anything. We couldn't own things. We couldn't have property. We couldn't even have a fucking bank account without a man's signature on it. Well, times have changed. Yet some of that genetic wiring still remains of, it's really all about him. And there are so many people who are feeding into that. Talking all the time about what men want, what men need, what kind of woman you need to be in order to attract a long-term relationship. All fucking candy-coated crap that aggravates the living shit out of me on a daily basis. Thank God I think about other things, because I think I would go crazy if I kept thinking about it incessantly. But I need you to step away from that. You're an adored woman. You get to choose a completely different outcome here. You don't have to pay attention to these men. And you should cut this one out of your life. You deserve better. Set him free to other people who like to drink incessantly and do disrespectful shit to other people. He's not yours. That's fine. Come bring your attention back to the mantourage that we were talking about. Now, if you need help getting over this guy, I do want you to go to thelovesickcure.com, because sometimes, like we've mentioned before, biochemistry is involved and it makes a little more challenging. And I want to help women stop being a so-called, quote unquote, and I use this term lightly, addicted to these types of men, because it's not doing anything for you. Again, we talked about that in segment 1, how there's a lot of different factors going on, but I want to help you step into my world, a world where you can exclusively focus on men who treat you well and be very turned on by them. And that way, these other guys, I mean, if we all start doing this as women, these other guys, they're going to have to change their behavior. They have to, because then they won't get women's attention. And men thrive off of female attention. Very good female attention, something that they don't get that often. I do hear a lot of resentment in this, and I don't blame you for having a lot of resentment about the situation. But again, I'm going to encourage you next time, if you get put into a situation and the guy is being extremely disrespectful, you have every right to leave, and you should. You absolutely 100% should, so that you tell the world that, you don't accept this. This is not okay. So I definitely want you to take your piece of responsibility there, and even if it's uncomfortable. I do want to talk a little bit about going on trips with men, especially with men that you're not necessarily in an exclusive relationship with. And if you've never been on a trip with a man and you're dating or closer to an exclusive relationship, I always recommend, until you know how well you travel together, I would recommend shorter trips. So I understand you were flying from Florida to New York, but I still think that trip could have been about 4 days. And just to start off with, I think you ladies can take that into your own hands and say, as exciting as that is, I'd rather do this amount of time instead of the longer amount of time. So to see how well we do together for a few days with all that in there. And the other thing I'm going to actually bring in here, because some of you ladies meet men who are out of state or out of country and things like that online, and they end up flying to meet you. I want to make it very clear that I love that, by the way, but you need to do it on your terms. So just because he's flying halfway around the world to meet you for the first time doesn't mean you have to host him in your place. And you shouldn't, in my opinion. I would never recommend that, okay? You can. I wouldn't recommend it. The other piece of that is you don't have to spend 24/7 with him just because he did that. And you can tell him up front before he even makes, trips, say, hey, look, I was thinking about this and I really would love to meet you, but I would feel more comfortable doing it this way. Most really great guys are super receptive to the phrase, I would feel more comfortable. Super receptive. And if he's not, if he becomes a jackass or an asshat because of it, go ahead and just let him go. Okay? There are great men out there. You don't have to buy into that genetic notion of, oh my God, I have to have somebody so that my life is worthwhile. You will meet somebody, I have no doubt. But I just want you to recognize some of that programming that has been handed down for centuries and do something different. So let's talk about that again. Trips. If you don't really want to do it, don't do it. If you do really want to do it, for a first one, I would keep it a little bit shorter. See how things go. If things turn bad, this is really important, ladies. You always should have an exit option. Do not go into a situation where there is no way for you to get home, okay? You need to have a credit card open to buy a ticket if it's necessary. You need to have extra cash to do anything you need. Do not put yourself in a situation that you have no out for, ever. Not just in this. Even when you go out with your girls, you should always have a strategy if something happens with all your girls. Be smart about this. I hate to say that we live in a world that has some of that fear in it, but we do. And so I'm not going to sit there and pretend and get mad at the fact that it's there. It's not my favorite thing in the world. I'm just going to share with you what you can do, and most likely nothing is going to happen. But if something does, girl, you're ready. And that's what I want you to be. All right, I don't want you to be paranoid. I want you ladies to have some fun, but I also want you to always be a safety girl. Super incredibly, I can't say it enough, important. You're an adored woman, which means you're a smart woman, which means you're a safety girl, which means that I'm going to help you create everything you want. If you need to get over him, it's thelovesickcure.com. If you're ready to do dating in a way and take it to the next level, come see me at thecouragekit.com. And I am going to help you rework this. But ladies, we have to stop being afraid of standing up to men, especially in situations like that. And standing up sometimes is actually a lot of times it's even better, is walking the fuck away. Okay, lover girl, it's time for the final thought on today's show. As an adored woman, spending time with a man romantically should never come at the expense of your integrity, your sanity, your feelings, and especially not your safety, no matter how good he is in bed. Today's show is brought to you by thelovesickcure.com. Does your love life suck because you can't move on from the idea of him? Does every man you meet pale in comparison to the way he made you feel? It's okay, lady love. We 100% understand and have been there before. Whether you'd like the opportunity to get him back or to completely move on, we know this only happens when you cure your heartbreak and love sickness. Let us help you do that today at thelovesickcure.com. Hey lover girl, this is Jen again. Don't forget to subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast app, as well as share Single Smart Female with all of your single smart girlfriends. And if you would like to play around and learn more about Mantourage dating, come see me at singlesmartfemale.com. Talk to you next time.